With the mining Indaba, from aspiration to action. That's the theme for this year's, Africa Energy Indaba. In fact, in his keynote address, Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe says it's going to take a mix of technologies to solve the country's power crisis. Newzroom Africa's business reporter Ntokozo Khumalo is at the Indaba, and she joins us now with the latest. Ntokozo, the minister is giving us some insight into what he thinks needs to happen to solve our energy problems. Tell us more about what he had to say.
Good afternoon, Michelle. And it's interesting that we just had that GDP chat with Statistician General Rasinga Maluleke, because the minister was really touching on the potential that gas has in not only diversifying the country's energy mix, but he said it has the potential to see economic growth jump by 8 to 10%. So that economic growth that the country so desperately needs. But indeed, as you just said, it takes more than just one energy source to fix the country's energy crisis. And to talk us through that, I am now joined by Professor Sampson Mamphweli, who is the head of the Energy Secretariat at the South African National Energy Development Institute. Thank you for talking to us. A lot of talking points today. The potential of gas to add 8 to 10% to economic growth. I think that's the one sticking point as we heard those GDP numbers for the fourth quarter. Talk us through that.
So that's correct. So the gas that the minister talked about, we've got a pipeline from Mozambique to South Africa. It's coming from the northern side of Mozambique. Mozambique has discovered additional gas reserves on the southern side of things. That pipeline alone, it has got an additional 30% of gas that we can use to generate electricity. Over and above that, the minister talked about the various gas reserves that we have in the country that we can exploit. That's where you can get a lot of economic opportunities and economic growth that he talked about, because that comes with large energy infrastructure that we need to build, and that costs a lot of money. So basically, the minister is encouraging the international community to come and invest billions of rands into the gas infrastructure and the gas economy in the country, which has got a potential to create a lot of jobs and also to grow the economy by what he mentioned, the 8 to 9%. Our estimates are somewhere around the region of 8 to 10% if we look at the infrastructure requirements and the jobs that will be created when we exploit those gas reserves. Over and above that, what is important is the energy mix that he talked about, the issue of dealing with load shedding. Once you create security of energy supply, you stabilize the economy, and then you can grow it from there.
Now, Prof, I'm hearing that infrastructure that's needed for gas, the new discoveries, it must take some time to tap into that, and the industry is warning of a gas shortage that's imminent by 2026. How do we then deal with that as we find these new, possible pipelines, both in Mpumalanga and in Mozambique? But between the time of us exploring for that and facing this gas shortage, how do we fit that gap?
So that's where the actual energy mix issue comes into play, because then we ramp up the renewables program. For instance, renewable energy you can build within 2 years, within 24 months. And the minister actually touched on that. He touched on the fact that South Africa is still pursuing an energy mix that contains gas, renewables, your coal, and the various storage facilities. So that's when in the interim, medium to short term, we start to look at renewable energy projects. He also alluded to the bid window 7, bid window 8 that is coming, and the fact that we have procured quite a lot of renewable energy in the 6th administration. So that's when now we start these energy sources, they complement one another. And the other thing that we should be doing, which the minister also touched on at high level, is basically fixing the energy availability factor of the coal fleet. Because if you go back to 2010 Integrated Resource Plan, it assumed that the coal fleet will operate at above 70% energy availability factor. It has gone down. At some point it was at 40%. Now we've got problems because it's now sitting at above 51%. Eskom needs to solve the energy availability factor of the current fleet, and then we can decommission as we bring in new generation capacity, so that we don't tamper with the economic growth. So all these things, they work together and complement one another.
And of course, SMEs in any sector are important and really have been dubbed as the ones that do drive that job creation in the industry when it comes to the energy sector and procurement and opportunities that are available there for SMEs. Where are they placed then in all these plans that we do have over the next couple of years, specifically when it comes to those opportunities in gas, but also other emerging energy sources such as hydrogen?
Yeah, so in terms of the SMMEs, government has done quite a lot of work, especially on the hydrogen side of things, where we're pursuing the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, where we are implementing various what we call catalytic projects, around 16 catalytic projects that are coming out of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap. My office is also involved in terms of the feasibility study of some of those projects. What we've done was to bring SMMEs to start working with universities and other state-owned entities in exploiting some of these opportunities. So the lessons that we are learning from exploiting the hydrogen side of things, when we start with this massive gas infrastructure build, we can take from those kind of lessons. We've taken SMMEs from South Africa to Japan, for instance, where they were partnering with Japanese companies. In South Africa, also back at home, the work that Anglo-American is doing on the hydrogen value in Limpopo, we've partnered them with a local SMME that is working on providing the MEAs, which is basically the heart of your electrolyzer and your fuel cell technology. That is coming from the work that South Africa did. We invested a lot of money in research on these kind of things for more than a decade. And then we take that IP and then hand it over to an SMME, and then we ensure that they get these collaborations going with big business. So if you look at the Mogalakwena area, the work that Anglo will be doing, they'll be doing it with a South African SME that is using the local IP, and through that you are able to create jobs. There are also upstream and downstream opportunities for SMMEs. So we're always encouraging them. Even now in the investment hub, our CEO just gave a presentation looking at the value chain in the energy space in general, and he was encouraging investors to say, gear up for these kind of opportunities. So that's when now the SMMEs must start to talk to big business, start to collaborate, start approaching us, with those kind of collaborations, so that we can then take them forward.
And just circling back to economic growth, because obviously the energy sector over the last few years, load shedding has really weighed on the industries of the economy. Once we do get that energy mix right, how much growth are we then likely to see if just gas could get us 8 to 10%? And how long would that take?
So in terms of economic growth, if we get the energy mix right and we get the coal fleet operating properly, and then we get in new build programs. If you look at the hydrogen economy only, we're looking at an investment of about 300 billion rands between now and 2035. And beyond 2035, going towards 2050, you're looking at close to 500, 600 billion rands that will be invested in the economy. And that on its own will bring another 8 to 10% economic growth. If we aggregate all these efforts, we could see our economy generally growing by about 10 to 15% in the next, beyond 2035. But it all boils down to the various efforts that government is bringing on board, working with the private sector as well in terms of the investments.
Professor Mamphweli, thank you so much for those insights. Of course, a professor there with the South African National Energy Development Institute, saying that for us to see that 10 to 15% beyond 2030, and that takes the country really getting that energy mix right, so that could see then us achieving that economic growth. And of course, gas has been the main talking point, Michelle, for the better half of the day, the opportunities there to grow the economy economy and as well bring in young people and women in the industry to create those jobs. We are going to hear from Electricity Minister Ramakgopa in a bit, Michelle, where he will just be briefing us on some of those opportunities and where his department fits in ensuring that those public-private partnerships do work to get the energy sector back on its feet again. It's back to you in studio, Michelle.
Ntokozo Khumalo, thanks very much indeed. Important conversations taking place there at the Africa Energy Indaba. Hopefully it's not just a talk shop.